Welcome back. It's time for the hot sauce now. Well, what would you do if you woke up in the middle of the night and your house had gone on fire, or you woke up in the middle of a natural disaster? As disaster services volunteers for the Red Cross in Western New York and the Finger Lakes region, more than 1,600 brave men and women respond to an average of 2 house fires a day. Last year alone, they helped more than 1,200 local families find food and shelter when they suddenly found themselves in need.
You're on an overnight shift, so you get a call in the middle of the night, you get up, you meet at the chapter, and then you drive to the fire.
A year and a half later, and Julia Spitz still remembers every detail of her first night on duty as a volunteer for the Red Cross.
We arrive at the fire, and it was very clear it wasn't your average house fire. The entire street block was blocked off. There were police and firemen everywhere.
A young mother had gone back into the burning house that night in hopes of saving her 3-year-old son. Neither of them made it out alive.
We were there to assist the upstairs neighbors who were all safe and healthy but needed food, clothing, and shelter. And it was a very stirring scene.
But it was only the beginning of a very long night.
When we were leaving that scene, and my team leader said, "There's another fire." And sure enough, there was another fire on Forest Avenue in a boarding house where many, many people were affected. So, and this is the middle of winter. So we had to get an NFTA bus on site. You have to get everyone in a safe, warm place, and then arrange for everyone to have food, clothing, and shelter. So that was my first night.
Did you think, what did I get myself into?
I was assured by my team leader that that was not your average night. But it really did remind me why we do this, because all those people needed help that night. And if it wasn't for the Red Cross, many people would not have had food, clothing, and shelter. And what would you do in that scenario?
That call to serve is exactly what drives Red Cross volunteers to respond when local and national disasters hit. For retired physical therapist Pete Swales, it came as he was watching one of our country's worst.
It was during Hurricane Katrina. I was sitting at home, of course, watching it on TV, and said, I just can't sit there anymore. I've got to do something.
Since then, Pete has jumped on planes on a day's notice and headed to natural disasters all over the country. He helps displaced people find food and shelter.
As different as everybody is that comes together, even particularly I think on the national scale, when you're working with hundreds or even thousands of Red Cross volunteers from all over the country, the one thing that you have in common is that you want to help these people. And that's a tremendous bind that you learn when you're in an organization like this.
Whether they're responding to flooding in Florida or a house fire in Western New York, Red Cross volunteers are used to heading to places when others are being asked to stay away.
My desire has been from the beginning that I'm going to go wherever I have to go to help those people return to a life that they had had.
The most recent fire I responded to was around the corner from my house, and that struck me because you respond to a lot of fires, but having it be around the corner from where I lived really struck a chord with me. It makes you think that could be me. It gives you a lot of perspective. Your worst day is still better than someone who's just lost their home to a fire. So it gives you a lot of perspective and a healthy dose of reality.
And Jay Bonafide joins us now from the Western New York chapter of the American Red Cross. Jay, that piece makes it look very, very serious what these volunteers do, and it is very, very serious, but they do it because it brings joy to their lives.
It really does. When you show up on the scene of a fire like you saw there, you see people that are really in need. They have no idea what just happened. They're really in a state of shock, and to have that Red Cross vest come in and be able to offer even just the very basic immediate emergency needs, food, clothing, shelter, it really can help them start to put things back together. It's a real comforting thing, and to know that you're providing that service, it's a really great feeling for our volunteers.
And to hear their stories from the volunteers, you can see how passionate they are about it. And it's also so interesting to learn all the things you didn't realize that the Red Cross does on the scene, like goes through and assesses the damage to the property.
Yeah, that's one of the first things we try and do is to determine what services you're going to need in terms of that immediate. If it was just a smaller fire and maybe you can get back into the house, you might not need, say, the clothing. If it was a kitchen fire, your clothes might still be okay or something like that. And so we're going to start that process right on the scene, and then that'll be an ongoing thing as we work on the long-term recovery as well.
And Julia, who you saw in that piece, is actually a board member of the Red Cross. That's how she found out about volunteering. But if someone is interested in doing this, what types of person makes a good volunteer for the Red Cross?
It's really anyone that wants to help people. You kind of heard Pete say it in that piece, just wanting to go and be there when people help. But there are other opportunities too. Not everyone can take a 3 a.m. phone call or has that type of personality to be able to go, again, like Pete said, where other people
jump
are.
on a plane and head to Florida or
exactly.
wherever the next day.
And we have tons of opportunities for things that aren't that. We have services to armed forces, which is largely just making phone calls to help communicate with deployed servicemen and women. So, and we have front desk volunteers even. So we have a ton of great opportunities for someone that wants to give a little bit back to the community through the Red Cross.
And of course, all of these services do cost money. They are expensive. You have your biggest fundraiser of the year, also one of Buffalo's biggest fundraisers of the year coming up Friday night, the Bash.
Yeah, our 16th annual Bash. A lot of people know about it. It's our military-themed party. So you're going to see over 4,000 people at 786 Delaware Avenue, all in their military gear. You saw some people dancing there. We've got music from Signature Entertainment, and then, of course, a live performance by Lance Diamond. We've got food and drink from some of the area's best restaurants, including Soho. You guys have Jay here today. So it really is a great time, and all the proceeds go to fund the kind of services you saw in that piece that Pete and Julia do.
And this is an award-winning fundraiser. It's continually voted Buffalo's best fundraiser. What makes it so great, and how much planning goes into this event?
Well, there's a lot of planning. We almost start planning it as soon as we shut down. We'll almost start planning for 2015 with midnight on Friday when we shut down this year's party. But it's a lot of fun, and it really is a party, and I think that's what it is. It stays with the mission. You know, the Red Cross started with the services to armed forces, but that theme, the music, the food and drink, everything that we have, I think it just makes it a lot of fun.
And having it the first week of June just makes it feel like a kickoff to summer here in Western New York. There are tickets available still, correct?
There are. If you go to redcross.org/Buffalo Bash, or you can stop by our offices, 786 Delaware Avenue. We've got people selling tickets all week, 9 to 5. It's $75 general admission. The raffle tickets, you can get 2 of those and an entry to the raffle for $100.
And I believe the tents have already gone up, correct?
Tents are up. Decorations are being hung now, and by Friday it'll be ready to host 4,000 people.
Lance Diamond's picking out his USA-themed suit.
Exactly. He'll be ready to go.
All right, and most importantly, what's the hashtag for this event if you're going and posting about it on social media?
Bash 2014.
All right, Bash 2014. Thanks so much again, and thanks to the volunteers, too, with the Red Cross. We appreciate the hard work they do for the community.
Pete and Julie are great representatives. We have so many great volunteers.